Taoism says the more you chase, the more you lose. Buddhism says the more you crave, the more you suffer. Vedanta says desire can trap you or free you. Stoicism says desire is not the problem. Irrational desire is. So what do you do with the fire inside you? Before we begin, let's clarify what we're talking about when we say desire. Tanha, in the Pali language of early Buddhism, means thirst, a craving that never fully satisfies, the wanting that creates suffering. Kama, in Sanskrit, means sensual desire, pleasure, attraction, enjoyment. It's also one of the four aims of human life in Vedanta, not forbidden, but limited. Mumukshutva, also Sanskrit, means the desire for liberation itself, the one desire that leads beyond all desires. Orexis, in Greek, is the Stoic term for appetite, for desire, and it can be rational or irrational, aligned with nature or against it. And Wu Wei. The Taoist concept of effortless action is deep non-forcing, acting without the strain of desperate wanting. These traditions aren't just arguing about whether you should want things. They're asking something more dangerous. What is the nature of wanting itself? Here is an ancient Vedantic image that explains desire with terrifying precision. A musk deer runs through the forest, intoxicated by a fragrance it can't name. It searches the wind. It searches the trees. It searches the mountains, and the more it runs, the more desperate it becomes, because the scent is always close, but never found. Then comes the shocking part. The fragrance was never out there. It was coming from the deer itself. So the chase never ends, not because the world is withholding something, but because the mind is looking in the wrong direction. That is desire in its purest form, the outward pursuit of what was always inside. And here's the modern twist. We built an entire world that profits from keeping you in that chase. We live in a civilization built on desire. The entire engine of modern capitalism runs on one principle: create desire, satisfy it temporarily, create more desire. You scroll through social media and see lives that look better than yours. Your brain spots what you lack and instantly turns it into a want. Advertising studies you, then shows you just enough to keep you wanting more. Self-help gurus tell you to manifest your desires, to visualize them, to believe you deserve them. Minimalists tell you to eliminate your desires, to simplify, to find freedom in having less. Therapy tells you to understand your desires, to trace them back to childhood wounds, to heal the wanting. But none of this answers the fundamental question: is desire the problem? Or is it the fuel that makes you human? You can't escape it. You wake up and you want coffee. You want comfort. You want the pain to stop. You want the pleasure to continue. So what do you do with this fire that burns inside you? Four ancient traditions looked at desire and saw completely different things. One saw poison. One saw fuel that was misdirected. One saw illusion. One saw nature itself. Let's see if they're talking about the same fire. Or four different fires entirely. Taoism begins with observation. Watch a child chasing a butterfly. The more the child runs, the more the butterfly flies away. The child gets frustrated, runs harder, stumbles, cries. But if the child sits still in the grass, sometimes the butterfly lands on their shoulder. This is the Taoist insight about desire. The more you chase, the more you create resistance. The more you force, the more the Tao pushes back. The Tao is the natural flow of things. Water doesn't push uphill. A tree doesn't strain to grow. Everything in nature follows its course, without strain, without forcing. But human desire creates force. You want something, so you grasp. You fear losing it, so you cling. You think happiness is over there, so you chase. And the Tao simply flows around your grasping hands. Wu Wei means non-forcing, or effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting in harmony with the natural flow, without the strain of desperate wanting. Think of a skilled swimmer. A novice fights the water, exhausts themselves, panics, sinks. A master moves with the water, finds the current, and glides. Desire makes you the novice. You fight, you force, you exhaust yourself, chasing what moves away from you. Contentment, which the Taoists call Zhi-Zu, doesn't mean having nothing. It means wanting nothing beyond what naturally comes. The Tao provides, not because it cares about you personally, but because life is already moving. And when you stop fighting the current, you discover you were always being carried. The Tao Te Ching in chapter 46 says it simply: there is no greater misfortune than wanting more, no greater fault than not knowing contentment. Whoever knows contentment will always be content. Not content because they have everything, content because they've stopped chasing. Picture a leaf falling from a tree in autumn. It doesn't resist falling. It doesn't try to fly back up to the branch. It doesn't force itself toward a particular spot on the ground. It simply falls, following gravity, riding the wind, landing wherever it lands. And that's exactly where it was always going to land. You are that leaf, but you think you're supposed to be the wind. Here's a small practice. Think of something you want desperately: a relationship, a promotion, recognition, peace. Now ask yourself, what happens if you stop chasing it? For 1 week. Not give up. Not abandon it. Just stop forcing. Stop the frantic emails. Stop the anxious planning. Stop the mental rehearsals of how it should go. Just let go of the rope. For a moment. What changes? Often, what you were chasing comes closer when you stop running toward it. Now Vedanta enters and says, desire isn't the enemy. Confusion about desire is the enemy. Vedanta recognizes 4 fundamental aims of human life, called the Purusharthas: Dharma, your duty, your righteous path; Artha, wealth, prosperity, security; Kama, pleasure, sensual enjoyment, desire; Moksha, liberation, freedom from all limitation. Notice, Kama is not forbidden. It's one of the 4 legitimate aims of life. Vedanta doesn't say, don't desire. It says, understand what you're really desiring. Here's the deeper insight. All desire for external things is really desire for one thing: completeness. You want money? Why? Security. You want security? Why? Peace. You want peace? Why? To finally feel whole. To finally feel like you're enough. Every desire, if you trace it deep enough, is desire for the end of desire. You want the unrest to stop. You want to arrive. You want to be complete. And Vedanta says, you already are complete. You are Brahman, the infinite reality, mistaking itself for a limited person. The problem isn't that you desire. The problem is that you think the external can complete you, when you were never incomplete. Like the musk deer, running through the forest, searching for its own fragrance. But Vedanta makes a crucial distinction. There's Kama, desire for worldly things, pleasure, success, relationships. These desires are natural, even good. but they can only give temporary satisfaction. They can't give lasting peace. Then there's mumukshutva, the desire for liberation itself, the longing to know your true nature, to realize you are Atman, to merge with Brahman. This desire is different. It's the desire that ends all other desires, not by suppressing them, but by fulfilling what they were always seeking. The Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, verse 70, offers this image. As rivers flow into the ocean, yet the ocean is not disturbed, so desires flow into the self-realized person who remains undisturbed. The enlightened person still has desires. They eat when hungry. They rest when tired. They love. They work. They live. But desires flow through them like rivers into the ocean. It doesn't overflow. It doesn't panic. It simply receives and remains vast. Here's a moment of self-inquiry. Ask yourself, why do I want what I want? Pick one desire, something you really want right now. Now ask, if I got that, what would I really gain? Keep asking. Go deeper. I want a better job. Why? More money. Why? Security. Why? So I can relax. Why? So I can finally be happy. And there it is, the real desire underneath. You don't want the job. You want happiness. You don't want the money. You want peace. And Vedanta asks, what if you already have what you're seeking, but you're looking for it in the wrong place? Try this practice. Choose one of your desires. Just one. Now ask, if I actually got this, would I finally be complete? Or would a new desire arise? Be honest. Usually, a new desire would arise, which means the desire isn't really about the object. It's about the seeking itself. What if you stopped seeking and recognized you're already whole? Then Buddhism arrives and says, desire is not just misdirected. Desire is the root of all suffering. This is the second noble truth, the heart of Buddhist teaching. Tanha creates dukkha, dissatisfaction, the fundamental unsatisfactoriness of existence. But let's be clear about what Buddhism means by tanha. It's not the natural wanting of food when you're hungry, or rest when you're tired. Tanha is compulsive craving, a thirst that never fully satisfies. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. Buddhism identifies three types of tanha. Kama tanha, craving for sensual pleasures. Not just sex or food, but any pleasant experience. You taste something delicious and want more. You feel a moment of peace and desperately want it to last. Bhava tanha, craving for existence, for becoming. You want to be somebody. You want to achieve, to matter, to be remembered. You want your life to add up to something. Vibhava tanha, craving for non-existence, for annihilation. This can be suicidal, but it can also be subtler. The desire to escape, to numb out, to disappear, to cease. All three types of craving create suffering, because all three try to control what cannot be controlled. The flow of impermanent experience. The Dhammapada, verses 334 and 335, describes it vividly. The craving of one who lives heedlessly grows like a creeping vine, like a monkey seeking fruit in the forest. One leaps from life to life. This is the image Buddhism offers. You are a monkey swinging from branch to branch, always reaching for the next fruit, never satisfied, never still. And Buddhism says, you can stop swinging, you can step off the wheel, but only by letting go of tanha entirely. But here's what's crucial to understand. Buddhism doesn't say you become cold, unfeeling, indifferent. Compassion, karuna, is not desire. It's a natural response, not because you crave an outcome, but because helping is what arises when the heart is open. The Buddha still ate. He still taught. He still walked, spoke, loved. What ends is not life. What ends is the grasping, compulsive quality that turns wanting into suffering. Here's a moment of mindful observation. Right now, notice a desire arising in your mind. Any desire. Maybe you want to check your phone. Maybe you want this episode to end. Maybe you want clarity, or peace, or just a glass of water. Don't judge the desire. Don't act on it. Just observe it. Where did it come from? You didn't decide to want it. It just appeared. How long does it last? Watch it. Sometimes desires surge, and then fade within seconds. What happens if you don't satisfy it? Do you survive? Usually, yes. Most desires arise and pass like waves. If you don't act on them, they dissolve on their own. Try this practice. Next time you feel a strong desire to eat something, to buy something, to check your phone, wait 60 seconds. Don't suppress the desire. Don't judge it. Just observe it. Watch its intensity. Does it get stronger? Does it plateau? Does it start to fade? You'll discover something profound. Most desires are temporary. They come and they go. The suffering isn't in the wanting. It's in the belief that you must satisfy every wanting immediately. Then Stoicism enters the conversation and says, "You're all missing the point. Desire is not the problem. Irrational desire is the problem." The Stoics had a word for desire, orexis, and they didn't think desire was automatically bad. Orexis can be aligned with logos, with reason, with nature. You have natural desires. You desire food when hungry. You desire rest when tired. They're not problems to solve. They're features of being human. The problem is when desire becomes irrational, when you desire outcomes that depend on fortune, on other people, on circumstances beyond your power. These desires will make you suffer, not because desire is bad, but because you're desiring the wrong things. Epictetus, in the very first chapter of the Enchiridion, draws the line clearly. Some things are up to us, and others are not. Up to us are opinion, impulse, desire, aversion. In our power are body, property, reputation, office, and everything not our own. The Stoic teaching is simple. Desire only what is in your control. You can desire to act virtuously. You can desire to work with excellence. You can desire to be a good friend, a good parent, a good citizen. But if you desire to be promoted, you're desiring something your boss controls. If you desire to be loved, you're desiring something another person controls. If you desire to be healthy, you're desiring something your body and fortune control. These desires will make you suffer. Not because desire is wrong, but because you're putting your peace in the hands of what you cannot command. Here's the Stoic mental exercise. Take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left side, right, under my control. On the right side, right, not under my control. Now list your desires, all of them, big and small. Where do they fall? I want to get promoted. Right side, not under your control. I want to work with excellence. Left side, under your control. I want my child to be happy. Right side, not under your control. I want to be a loving, present parent. Left side, under your control. Every desire on the right side is a potential source of suffering. Not because it's a bad desire, but because you are at the mercy of forces beyond you. Every desire on the left side is a source of power, because you can actually achieve it. The Stoic redirection of desire looks like this. You want to be promoted, but promotion isn't in your control. So redirect desire to do your work so well that promotion becomes likely, and then let go of attachment to the outcome. You want your relationship to last forever, but you can't control the future. So redirect desire to be the best partner you can be today, and let the future take care of itself. You want to be recognized, respected, admired, but you can't control other minds. So redirect desire to live in a way that deserves respect, whether or not you receive it. This isn't giving up. This is focusing your fire on what you can actually burn. Try this micro-test. Think of something you desperately want. Now ask the Stoic question, is this under my control? Be ruthlessly honest. Not, can I influence it? But do I fully control it? If the answer is no, then redirect. What aspect of this situation is under your control? Usually it's your effort, your intention, your character, your response. Desire that. Let go of the rest. Now let's test all four philosophies with the same scenario. Imagine you want desperately to have a child. You try for years. Treatments fail. Doctors offer no guarantees. Hope fades. What does each tradition say? The Taoist would say, you're fighting the current. You're trying to force what cannot be forced. The Tao doesn't respond to struggle. It responds to surrender. Not giving up on having a child, but giving up the fight against what is. Maybe you'll have a child. Maybe you won't. Maybe the Tao has a different path for you that you can't see while you're obsessed with this one outcome. Contentment isn't having what you want. It's wanting what the Tao offers. Stop pushing the river. See where it takes you. Vedanta would say, why do you want a child? Go deeper. You want to give love. You already have love inside you. You can give it in countless ways. You want a legacy. You already are Brahman, eternal, infinite. What legacy could be greater? You want to feel complete. You already are complete. A child can be a river that joins the ocean. But the ocean was whole before the river arrived. You're allowed to want a child. That's natural. But recognize, you're complete, with or without. The child may come. The child may not. Either way, you are whole. Buddhism would say, this desire is causing you suffering because you are clinging to one specific outcome in an impermanent, uncontrollable world. You didn't choose your body. You didn't choose your genetics. You didn't choose the moment in history you were born. Countless conditions must align for conception. Most are beyond your control. The suffering isn't the situation. The suffering is the craving, the desperate clinging to how things should be. You can offer love to the world in infinite ways. The desire for a child, as Tanha, when it becomes obsessive craving, becomes poison. Practice equanimity. Let go of the outcome. If a child comes, welcome them. If not, the heart can still be full. The Stoic would say, separate what you control from what you don't. Under your control. Seeking medical help. Taking care of your health. Making wise decisions. Preparing emotionally and financially. Not under your control, whether conception happens, whether treatments work, what nature allows. Desire what you control. Desire to act virtuously in this situation, with wisdom, with courage, with acceptance. Accept what you don't control. If you have a child, it's a gift. If you don't, you still lived with virtue. Your worth doesn't depend on fortune. You can feel grief. That's natural. But don't let grief become a judgment that your life failed because one outcome didn't happen. You control your character. That's enough. So where do they converge? All four agree. Blind desire for external outcomes causes suffering. All four agree. The problem isn't wanting itself. It's the quality of the wanting, the grasping, the clinging, the desperation. But where they diverge is profound. Taoism says, dissolve desire into the flow. Act without forcing. Vedanta says, recognize you're already complete. Desire from wholeness, not from lack. Buddhism says, extinguish craving entirely. Reach nirvana, where Tanha no longer arises. Stoicism says, redirect desire toward virtue. Desire what you control. Accept what you don't. You can't do all four at once. They're different paths. Buddhism wants to extinguish Tanha completely, to reach a state where desire no longer binds you to the wheel of suffering. Taoism wants to dissolve desire into wu-wei, to act without the strain of wanting. Vedanta wants to transform small desires into the supreme desire, mumukshutva, the longing for liberation that fulfills all other longings. Stoicism wants to discipline desire, to aim it only at what you control, at virtue itself. Four fires, four ways of relating to the heat. Perhaps they're not as contradictory as they seem. Perhaps they're addressing different stages. When desire is out of control, causing you to act destructively. Buddhism and Taoism say, let go, stop feeding the fire. When desire is confused, seeking completion in the wrong places, Vedanta says, recognize you're already complete. When desire is misdirected, aimed at things you don't control. Stoicism says, redirect it toward virtue. Or perhaps they're genuinely incompatible. Perhaps you must choose. Do you want to extinguish desire, dissolve it, transform it, or discipline it? Your answer determines how you live. What would you still want if you knew wanting it would never bring you peace? Desire might trap you or free you, depending on what you do with it. But there's something older than desire, shaping your life, something you didn't choose. The Tao flows without asking. Karma returns everything you do. Stoic fate ties every moment into a perfect chain. Next video we're going to ask, are you really in control or just negotiating with forces older than you? See you there.